Dear compatriots, today is February 18th, and during this broadcast, we will mainly focus on the extraordinary summit that took place in Paris involving the leaders of European countries. There is quite important preliminary information that we need to discuss together. Regarding Armenia, there isn't much to discuss in detail. We can simply analyze how, in today's new balance of power and amidst the confusion between the United States and the European Union, as well as under the conditions of the Russian-American negotiations, Armenia should position itself. What steps should be taken more precisely by Armenia to ensure that Armenia's security is not compromised in this complex situation? Before the broadcast begins, I once again urge everyone to definitely like when we remind you about the websites and subscribers. We achieve much better results at the very beginning, which is why I remind you again, dear compatriots, to definitely like, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, and after watching our channel for a long time and being convinced that it is unbiased, we kindly ask you to also subscribe to our channel. This will increase our videos' presence on the overall YouTube platform and make our activities more effective and understandable. I want to address the fact that in the occupied Abkhazia, which was seized from Georgia, so-called presidential events took place, elections, as a result of which the Armenian community did not support the pro-Turkish force among those self-proclaimed presidential candidates, leading to threats being directed at the Armenian community from various sources and in different forms. I just want to say a few things. If you remember, weeks ago we talked about how the nationalists of Turkey, they had also appealed to the country's foreign minister specifically regarding Abkhazia. Concerning the Armenian community, they were also trying to negotiate with the Azerbaijani authorities to neutralize the leaders of the Armenian community. And here, I specifically imagine that there is a conspiracy, there is very serious activity from the Turkish side, in addition to what happened in Belarus with the Armenian blogger. Such activity overall, it is very unfortunate that under such conditions, Armenian communities in different countries, including those in occupied Abkhazia from Georgia, are unable to counteract such phenomena. It is very important that we learn to respond and protect against such phenomena wherever we are in the world. The Armenian diaspora must also take these issues very seriously. Indeed, I repeat, Abkhazia is a closed region occupied from Georgia, where Turkey, together with Russia, has complete influence. Unfortunately, there is also a struggle there between the Turks and Russians over spheres of influence, and naturally, the Armenian community is also an obstacle for them, because the Armenian community has not supported the more pro-Turkish president there, but rather the pro-Russian one. Overall, Abkhazia is a great pain for Georgia, for the Georgian people, because you know that Abkhazia was seized from Georgia and Russia unlawfully recognized Abkhazia's independence, which the international community and Georgia's allies also disagree with. But since we also have an Armenian community there, that's why I would also try to express myself cautiously. We need to focus our attention on this issue because it doesn't matter where our compatriots are located. If they are in danger, we need to find some way, some option to help them. It is clear that there can be no talk of minority rights, democracy, and so on, and so on. The situation there is more complex, but nevertheless, I think it is very important that we all keep our focus on important international issues. As you know, an extraordinary summit of European leaders took place in Paris in the afternoon. And we are just now receiving the first information, as there are still not many details. NATO Secretary General Margarita Uten was also there participating in the summit. Before the summit, Emmanuel Macron called the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and they had a phone conversation. The details are not known, but at the end of that gathering, There is information. There are clear details that France and Great Britain have agreed to send troops to Ukraine. However, not directly to the contact line, which is involved in military clashes, not in that war zone, but a little further back, where British and French soldiers will have the opportunity to conduct training, I believe, to supply the soldiers and ensure their provisions adequately. It's a bold decision. I can't say how quickly this decision will be implemented, or if it will be implemented at all. Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz has already announced that Germany will not participate in this operation. Besides, Donald Tusk also stated that Poland will not participate either, although they are ready to help Ukraine in every way, as they have been doing until now. And in March, it is clearly stated that it is still too early to rush into making any such clear decision. It is necessary to plan very well and have a clear understanding of what kind of operation is being carried out now, with the military contingent of France and Great Britain being sent to Ukraine, and only then proceed with such an operation. We have information that the European Union is deciding to acquire weapons and ammunition from the United States of America, to which Trump also agrees to celebrate. Besides, European officials in Paris have declared that Europe is not in a phase of peace, and Ukraine is not in a phase of peace, but rather in a phase of brutal war. This means that the decisions being made now are not for entering a phase of peace, or related to a phase of peace, but rather related to a phase of brutal war, meaning that a brutal war is currently ongoing, in Ukraine, and this war has not been cancelled or brought to an end, and those decisions are specifically related to military actions. Besides, the NATO Secretary General has also stated that the European Union is ready and determined to ensure Ukraine's security. He also mentioned that he specifically supports the idea of making a decision to have a program in place before moving forward. France and Great Britain are already moving towards serious action. In this regard, Reuters reports that European leaders have clearly called on Ukraine not to cease fire or stop the war. In other words, they have explicitly warned Ukraine not to agree to cease fire without a peace agreement. We are also aware that today, in Saudi Arabia, negotiations are set to take place between America and Russia in Riyadh, specifically regarding the situation in Ukraine. Ukraine will not be present there. The European Union and Europe as a whole will not be present either, and the American side also announced that neither the European Union nor Ukraine will be present at these negotiations. If you remember, they previously stated that Europe would not be present at all, but later the representative of the United States changed their stance and said that the European Union would be involved with Ukraine in the future, now as well. Kit blog, meaning General Kit Reserve, clearly states that a special envoy has been appointed regarding Ukraine. It is said that no decision will be imposed on Ukraine, and Ukraine will also make all decisions together with the United States. This means that Ukraine will have the free opportunity to independently make decisions regarding the war, determining what is suitable for them and what is not. Essentially, that's how it turns out. From the Kit blog's announcement, it is also mentioned that Trump will definitely listen to all sides. Meaning by saying all sides, perhaps they are trying to take a neutral stance somewhere. Essentially, they are considering the Russian side, the Ukrainian side, the new European side, and only after that will Trump make his decisions and speak regarding his records on Ukraine. After all that, the real issue here is that we see very rapid changes in the position of the United States. To reiterate, at least on the level of announcements, they say that the United States will negotiate directly with Russia, and then Ukraine can join, and Europe should not be involved. Then they say otherwise. Europe is also included, and now they announce that they will tell all sides. Trump might also sell weapons to Europe, meaning this latest announcement. clearly creates the impression that the United States wants to maintain as neutral a position as possible in the Russia-Ukraine war, and the main warring and supporting countries for Ukraine should become the countries of the European Union. But considering the recent actions of the new administration of the United States, in the context of the policies of these weeks, I can confidently say one thing again, that these positions are still subject to a lot of change. And today is quite important for the Russian market negotiations. There have already been some preliminary small meetings between the American and Russian sides. I believe that soon there will also be a more expanded meeting. The main meeting is the primary negotiation between the American and Russian sides, and based on its results we will see what statements will be made, and only after that will we have our conclusion. Regarding Armenia, I can say the following. As far as I can see, the new administration of the United States is quite well disposed towards Armenia, whether it's Marco Rubio's visit to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem or J.D. Vance's meeting with Nikol Pashinyan. The first meeting in his office celebrated Trump's posts on his page, the call with Aram Bey and the correspondence, and so on and so forth. All of this is true, but today we do not have a very large and specific statement regarding Armenia, which is also very important. I forgot to mention that Marco Rubio twice engaged with the US Secretary of State during meetings with his Turkish counterpart. He spoke about dignified peace in the South Caucasus and all of that. If we try to gather it together, it's not that I now have a clear understanding. I believe that, regarding Armenia, there is quite a good approach and a good stance. The new administration of the United States, however, considering Trump's psychology and political themes, should also have personal interest concerning Armenia. I don't know what personal interest he might have by saying personal. Let's not say specifically only personal, but also the United States should have specific business interests in Armenia to support Armenia more. What I'm saying is that Armenia should build good relations not only with Europe, but also with the United States. That small rift that has arisen between the United States of America and Europe, I know that it can be resolved peacefully. I am sure that it is temporary. We just don't know how deep it will go and how long it will last, but the fact that it is temporary is a fact. And now it is becoming a little more complicated for Armenian politics, because we need to have good relations not only with Russia and the West, but with Russia, the European Union, and the United States. And it is necessary to ensure that in those conflicting interests, Armenia should not suffer, but rather be able to conduct the right policy and only increase its security. Again, nothing is impossible. Everything is quite possible, and in this regard, one must work very diligently and intelligently. And during this broadcast, I saw that Ursula von der Leyen also made an important statement. After that summit, she said that Ukraine deserves to achieve peace through strength. They are taking on a significant part of the military support themselves. That is, Europe is taking on part of the military support for Ukraine. She said that the important thing is the peace of Ukraine, its sovereignty and territorial integrity, as well as strong guarantees for Ukraine's security. Besides these, as already mentioned, she said that some parts are not in this certain decision. For Ukraine, the European Union is taking on military support for them. Besides Europe, the European Union has already started to specifically think and take action towards ensuring its own security. Meanwhile, steps are being taken to enhance Europe's defense. And, regarding the Riyadh negotiations, we also have an initial statement from the Russian side. In fact, in that statement, we also see that Russia intends to achieve the cancellation of numerous sanctions imposed by the United States against Russia. They are already talking about the fact that the United States has lost $300 billion due to these sanctions when they withdrew from Russia. and now the Russian Federation is proposing to the United States to resume those connections, which will bring some profit to both Russia and the United States. Let's see how the mutual interests in the negotiations will develop and how the situation will evolve around this Russian-Ukrainian war. I think in the coming days and hours, we are expecting interesting information in this regard. That's all for this statement. Take care, goodbye, and we'll meet again.